Senator Wong, were you wanting a...
I seek leave to make a statement relating to ministerial arrangements.
Is leave granted? Leave is granted.
I thank the Senate. I advise that Senator Gallagher will be absent from question time on the 27th of August 2025 for personal reasons. In her absence, ministers will represent portfolios as outlined in the letter I have circulated to the opposition and to party leaders.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Chandler.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Wong. We know through a list of documents released under Freedom of Information that the government was preparing to list the IRGC as a terrorist organisation in January 2023. Minister, why has it taken 2.5 years for the Albanese government to finally announce that it will list the IRGC as a terrorist organisation?
Thank you, Senator Chandler. Minister Wong.
Thank you, President. Well, as I think Senator Chandler would know, as the Prime Minister announced yesterday in the announcement with the Director-General of ASIO, myself and the Home Affairs Minister, that as a result of painstaking work by our security agencies and law enforcement agencies, we have identified that at least 2 of the anti-Semitic attacks in Australia in recent times, the Adass Israel Synagogue and the Lewis Continental Kitchen, were orchestrated by the IRGC. Our judgment as a consequence of that was that we had to take the unprecedented action of expelling the ambassador and that we would, in response to this, which did cross the line, list the IRGC as a terrorist organisation, which, as you know, requires legislative amendment. I would make the point, Senator Chandler, that first, even before we took this action yesterday, our government has taken stronger action against Iran than any previous Australian government. I would make the point that the government, of which Senator Cash and others were a part, did nothing in relation to further sanctions. We have placed some 200 sanctions on both Iranian and IRGC entities and individuals. I would also make the point that we were part of the push to remove Iran from the UN body in relation to the elimination of discrimination against women. They took that position whilst the coalition was in government. So I look forward to bipartisan support for this.
Minister Wong. The time for answering has expired. Senator Chandler, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. The former Home Affairs Minister, Claire O'Neill, publicly attributed a foreign interference attempt to the Islamic Republic of Iran regime in February 2023. That same month, the coalition offered bipartisan support to legislate, if necessary, to allow the government to list the IRGC as a terrorist organisation. Minister, why didn't the Albanese government take us up on the offer at that time, when the threat of the IRI regime was already well understood?
Thank you, Senator Chandler. Minister Wong.
The IRGC has been a disruptive and malign actor for a very long time in many countries, including when Senator Cash and others were in government. And I would make the point that no action was taken under the previous government for such listing, despite, as I hear this morning, Mr Hastie recommending saying. So I would just make again the same point. We took, prior to this action, stronger action against Iran than any previous Australian government. But what we did see, what we have seen, is something really unprecedented, which is a foreign actor orchestrating violence in Australia, on Australian soil, against Australians. That is why we took the action we've taken.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Chandler, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. Since the death of Mahsa Amini in police custody in September 2022, the Iranian diaspora has been calling for the IRGC terrorist listing to reflect the real and tangible threat that it poses not just in Iran but here in Australia as well. Minister, why did it take violence on Australian soil for the government to act on those calls from our local Iranian community?
Thank you, Senator Chandler. Minister Wong.
I refer to my earlier answers, which is we actually have taken stronger action than any government that the coalition was part of over the last 9 years. The IRGC was already sanctioned as a whole, I think in 2010 by a former Labor government. What we did see, however, and you have heard me in this place, including in response to your questions, be very clear about our view on foreign interference. But what we have seen is really unprecedented. We have seen a foreign entity seek to orchestrate violence in our country, on our soil, against Australian citizens and Australian premises. And this calls for the unprecedented action we have taken, which is the first expulsion in the post-war era of an ambassador.
Thank you, Minister. Senator De Leger.
Thanks, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Housing, Senator Ayres. Building more homes is a priority for the Albanese Labor government. Can the Minister outline the improvement in housing supply in the latest ABS figures, which show that in June, total dwellings approved rose 11.9%, and in the March quarter, total dwellings commenced rose by 11.7%. What measures has the government taken to increase housing supply?
Minister Ayres.
Thank you, President. And I thank Senator De Leger for that question. And he's right. It's good to see somebody paying attention to the evidence base here. In June, total dwellings approved rose 11.9% over the month and 27.4% over the year. Total dwellings commenced rose 11.7% over the March quarter and 17.3% over the year. And the value of construction work rose 3% over the June quarter and 4.8% over the year. 500,000 homes have been built since this government came to office. Construction costs have stabilised. We've got 28,000 social and affordable homes supported by this government under construction or planned. Under the previous government, over the course of a decade, 373 is all that was achieved. Now, we have a $43 billion housing agenda. The alternative approach, apart from the relentless negativity, was in evidence when they were in office. 373 social and affordable homes built over the entire period. Surfing on the complacency of what had been delivered by previous governments, surfing on the effort of others, no effort, no engagement, no coordination, not even a housing minister over that period, a laser focus on bludgeoning on the Australian people. Now, the trick with negative politics, through you, President, to Senator Bragg, is the trick with negative politics is it only works if you're good at it.
Thank you, Minister. Senator De Leger, first supplementary.
Thanks, President.
Senator De Leger,
making it easier.
Please resume your seat. Order. Senator McKenzie. Senator De Leger, please start again.
Thanks, President. Making it easier for Australians to buy their first home is also a priority for the Albanese Labor government. This week, the government announced that the 5% scheme would expand from 1 October to cover all first home buyers 3 months ahead of schedule. What impact will this have on Australians trying to buy their first home?
Minister Ayres.
Well, thank you, Senator. Just put yourself in the shoes of those young Australians who are facing year after year after year of trying to save for a deposit, and this government has delivered for them, consistent with our election commitment, an even better proposition. Bringing forward 5% home deposits for many young Australians brings for them, in a practical and real way, some hope of being able to purchase a home and to save a deposit. For some of them, that means a decade less savings paying somebody else's mortgage. And what do we have from Senator Bragg? Whinging and negativity, trying to find any reason why young Australians should be denied this opportunity. He said yesterday that the children of billionaires will be getting access to this. Well, I'll give you the tip. If you're a billionaire's son or daughter and you're worried about a 5% or 20% deposit from the old man,
Minister Ayres, resume your seat. Senator Deleger, second supplementary.
Thanks, President. Policies that increase the housing supply and make it easier for Australians to buy their first home are in the national interest. They help make the housing market fairer and ensure it works for all Australians. What challenges does the Albanese Labor government face in implementing our agenda?
Thank you, Senator Deleger. Minister Ayres.
Well, of course it's in the national interest for Australians to have an opportunity to buy a home. First home buyers to have the opportunity to buy a home. For all of the elements of our policy to be engaged. Now, I've listened to the sneering about the 5% home deposit from those opposite, and I've seen the sneering about renters too. And there is some consistency, isn't there, with what a former leader of the Liberal Party said about renters in Australia. He said, you can always tell, John Hewson said, you can always tell the renters' houses because they're less tidy out the front. Well, that attitude is clearly consistent with Senator Bragg's sneering at renters, sneering at first home buyers, sneering at the efforts of this government to mobilise the Australian construction sector and the states and territories to build more homes for Australians at an affordable level.
Has expired. Senator Cadell.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Wong. At a protest rally against Israel in Sydney earlier this month, that was attended by a number of state and MPs, one of the attendees was proudly holding a large portrait of the dictator Ayatollah al-Khamenei, who was holding a rifle. Given your recent action to expel the Iranian ambassador and list the Iranian Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist organisation due to their deliberate attacks on Australian community, including the horrific firebombing of the Adass Synagogue in Melbourne, can the government advise Australians that they are aware of any involvement of the IRGC or its operatives in attending, encouraging or fuelling these protests in Australia?
Thank you, Senator Cadell. Minister Wong.
Thank you, Senator Cadell. Thank you for that question. And yes, I did see those images and I found them deeply disturbing and would again remind all Australians, including those who care very deeply about what is happening in Gaza, of the role that Iran has played and continues to play in the region. One can advocate for a ceasefire and for humanitarian law to be observed without aligning one's rhetoric with a regime which is, frankly, has been a repressive and murderous regime and a destabilising force in the region.
Order.
Sorry, have I got a question? Well, occasionally, occasionally, and I respect the way in which Senator Cadell asked that question. This is a really serious set of events in Australia. It deserves a serious response. I was pleased when I saw Ms Lee talk about the need for bipartisanship on this, and would invite her colleagues to perhaps reflect on whether or not their approach in trying to find some political differentiation on an issue like this is an appropriate one for a party of government. It really is an appropriate one for a party of government. Senator...
Order. Order. Minister, please continue.
Senator, it is the case that we know that the IRGC around the world has engaged in foreign influence, foreign interference in different democracies. We've seen that. I will leave it to the Director General of ASIO to outline any further what is appropriate to put in the public arena. But that is one of the reasons why it's so important for all of us to stand against foreign interference, why we, on a bipartisan basis, passed, when we were in opposition, foreign interference laws, while we have national security agencies which are there to keep Australians safe.
Thank you, Minister.
We
the
have
time
to
for answering has expired. Senator Cadell, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. Given now that we have foreign power promoting violent attacks on our community in Australia, will the AFP, ASIO or other security agencies be given extra resources to ensure this doesn't happen again, or have they asked for them?
Thank you, Senator Cadell. Minister Wong.
Senator, you might be aware from previous answers that we have put more resources into the fight against anti-Semitism. We also have a joint police task force operation, I think it's Everlight, which the Commissioner has given evidence about at estimates and in other fora. We have put additional funding into security for Jewish schools and institutions. But what we want is an Australia where that is not necessary. What we want is an Australia where Jewish Australians feel and are safe, all Australians feel and are safe. And that means that all of us have to stand against prejudice in all its forms. All of us should stand against anti-Semitism. All of us should advocate for the inclusion, the respect that defines the Australian democracy.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Cadell, second supplementary.
Thank you for that. ASIO linked the Tyrone and Sydney and Melbourne tax to the government directly. What new protections beyond yesterday's announcement will be in place for Jewish schools and synagogues and businesses?
Thank you, Senator Cadell. Minister Wong.
Thank you, Senator. I think the Director-General indicated there were continued investigations into other matters. Obviously, I can't preempt those in this forum. What I can say to you, and there are a number of things we have done in relation to anti-Semitism. We've established, as I said, Special Operation Everlight to combat anti-Semitism. We have imposed counter-terrorism sanctions on Telegram. We have banned the Nazi salute and hate symbols. We've passed legislation to criminalise.
Beg your pardon. Minister Wong, please resume your seat. Senator McKenzie.
Point of order on direct relevance, and whilst I appreciate the comprehensive nature of Senator Wong's answer about actions the government has taken, Senator Cadell's question was very direct on what new actions the government is putting forward beyond yesterday's announcement to protect Jewish schools, synagogues and businesses.
Senator McKenzie, and the minister is being directly relevant to the question. Minister Wong.
We have also, my very next point was that we've committed $57.5 million for improved safety and security at Jewish sites across the country, including schools and synagogues. Obviously, my assumption is that's over the forward estimates period, in addition to existing programs. So that obviously will continue to flow. And the government has also committed $1.2 million for security upgrades to current buildings, $30 million to restore the Adass Israel Synagogue and Community
Centre. The time for answering has expired. Senator Hanson-Young.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister for the Environment, Senator Watt. Minister, last week you told the Productivity Roundtable that the Albanese government is committed to reforming Australia's environment laws. Will the government, with its huge majority in the lower house, seize this once-in-a-generation opportunity to work with the Greens to protect Australia's native forests and deliver genuine, modern environmental law reform that finally recognises climate change?
Thank you, Senator Hanson-Young. Minister Watt.
Thanks, President, and thanks, Senator Hanson-Young. Well, the government is very committed to passing reforms to our environmental laws, and we would welcome the support from either side of this chamber to enable us to do this. Because we well remember that when the government tried to amend our environmental laws prior to the election, we saw the coalition get back together, as they usually do, to block those reforms from going through. So, Senator Hanson-Young, that may well be a question worth putting to your own party room, to ask your own party room, are you prepared to work with Labor to pass these reforms? Equally, is the coalition prepared to work with Labor to pass these reforms? Because there's one thing I do agree with Senator Hanson-Young on in this matter, which is that our environmental laws as they currently stand are fundamentally broken. Graham Samuel was appointed by the then Environment Minister, Ms Lee, now the opposition leader, nearly 5 years ago, and he handed down a report which made recommendations founded on the finding that our environmental laws are not working for business and they're certainly not working for our environment. Now, in that 5-year period, of course, we've seen businesses held up with their investments through the current processes, and of course, more than anything, we've seen our environment suffer from the lack of protection in our current laws. So I've said publicly we are open to working with either or both the Coalition and the Greens when it comes to passing these reforms. We want to pass reforms that include strong environmental protections, quicker and more efficient approvals and assessments, and also more transparency when it comes to environmental regulation. And Senator Hanson-Young, I've noted that while I've been answering your question, your colleagues have been interjecting. And again, I think it points to the fact that there's a lot of work to do within the Greens party room to determine whether you're actually prepared to work with the government to pass these reforms, or whether you follow your past actions, opposing our environmental laws in the last parliament, opposing the CPRS back in the Rudd-Gillard government. You've got a very good track record of stopping Labor making environmental reform.
Senator Hanson-Young, first supplementary.
Thank you. In his press conference after the Productivity Roundtable, the Treasurer said that the government would be consulting on, quote, some kind of coordinated general function to speed up approvals for big projects. Who is being consulted, and is this consultation being run by you as Environment Minister or another minister?
Thank you, Senator Hanson-Young. Minister Watt.
Well, the Treasurer did. The Treasurer, I was very pleased to work with the Treasurer on this suggestion that came out of the Economic Roundtable, along with a number of other ministers, and the Treasurer has said that in the process of establishing the Treasury front door, which he has previously committed to, which is all about trying to better coordinate within government the way that government responds to different investment proposals. What he has said is that we also intend to consult on the possibility of a Commonwealth Coordinator General, whose role it would be not to issue approvals for projects, but to better coordinate the various different approvals which are required within government. Now, typically, for example, if you were to have a major foreign investor who wanted to make an investment in Australia, they might require approval from the Foreign Investment Review Board. They might require approval through the department that I now oversee, and it's about better coordination of those approvals.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Hanson-Young, second supplementary.
I do note that the minister didn't answer my question as to whether he was running the consultation. I'm happy to take that on notice. Your own home state in Queensland has a role such as this, and they spruik on their website that the majority of projects they have sped up have been in the mineral and energy sector. Are you consulting on a model that is similar, and is this just a way to allow coal and gas companies to bypass environmental law?
Thank you, Senator Hanson-Young. Minister Wong.
Obviously, I'm sure Senator Watt can respond as he likes. A point of order on whether the question was on order. My understanding of the senator's question is it references a state government website.
Thank you, Senator Hanson-Young. Senator Hanson-Young did reference a state government website, but asked if that model was going to be used. So it was simply in reference. The question's in order. Minister Watt.
Thanks, President, and thanks, Senator Hanson-Young. You are correct that Queensland is one of the states in Australia that has the role of Coordinator General, and you've asked whether the role that we would be considering would be the same as that. The point of consultation is to develop a model. So we're not going into this having made a decision about that. We'll be talking to a range of parties, including environment groups. I suspect I've probably had a lot more meetings with environment groups lately than you have, Senator Hanson-Young, in the process of drafting these reforms. And what I've heard from those environment groups is that they actually support the idea of faster and more efficient approvals and assessments, provided they are done in line with new national environmental safeguards. So I would urge the Greens Party, as these negotiations and as the development of this legislation moves forward, to just pause the grandstanding for a little bit. You say that you like to listen to the environment movement. We're listening to the environment movement, just as we're listening to industry groups, and they all agree that they want faster approvals and stronger safeguards. You should do some listening to them.
Minister Watt, the time for answering has expired. Senator Sterle.
Thank you, President. My question, without yelling, is to the Minister representing the Minister for Employment and Workplace Relations, Senator Watt. This week marks 1 year since the Albanese Labor government's closing the loopholes measures commenced. Yay! A significant milestone for the workers of our nation. This historic workplace changes were the most important workplace relations reforms we have seen in a decade.
Minister, how is the government making work more secure, boosting wages, closing the gender pay gap and encouraging more cooperative workplaces?
Thank you, Senator Sterle. Minister Watt.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Senator Sterle. I could hear the excitement in your voice as you were asking that question. Yesterday, as you said, was the 12-month anniversary of key reforms made by the Albanese Labor government through our Closing Loopholes legislation. That legislation came into effect 12 months ago, and it was all about removing the loopholes that undermine a level playing field for employers, as well as pay, job security and safety for workers. These reforms were a key plank in the government's first-term agenda, aimed at securing jobs, boosting pay, closing the gender pay gap and encouraging more cooperative workplaces. And that's, of course, after 10 years of coalition government deliberately suppressing wages and driving more conflict in our workplace relations. This legislation was designed to close loopholes that existed under the coalition and were being used by some employers to undercut wages and conditions for working people. Our changes also levelled the playing field for businesses who were doing the right thing and no longer have to compete in a race to the bottom on wages. Low wages might look to some businesses as a cost saving, but they undermine productivity, competitiveness and economic prosperity for companies and the country. One of our key reforms that brings up its one-year anniversary is the right to disconnect. I remember the howls against that, led by the person sitting in the Leaders' chair for the moment, when she was the shadow workplace relations minister. She was saying that the world would fall apart. Remember the dark ages we were going to get into? The dark ages, typical Senator Cash, dialling it up to 11, just like you're doing this week. Dial everything up to 11. We know what your colleagues think about you dialling everything up to 11. That's why no one takes you seriously in this building. And you did it on workplace relations as well, by saying we were going to go back to the dark ages.
Order! Order! Senator Cash! Senator Cash! Order! 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 Senator McGrath and Senator Nampijinka-Price, in that order, will withdraw those comments.
Draw.
Senator Henderson.
Thank you very much, Madam President. On a point of order, I would also ask that you would ask Senator Watt to withdraw the most regrettable unparliamentary comment that he made in relation to the exceptional, hard-working Senator Cash. Thank you.
Senator Henderson, I did not hear that, but I will ask Senator Watt to— thank you. I don't need you to repeat anything. I'm simply indicating to you there was so much noise and disrespect and disorder in this chamber. I didn't hear that, but I know that the minister will always withdraw if he's made a— Thank you. Senator Scarr.
Point of order, President. One of the reasons it descended so quickly is Senator Watt was directly and quite aggressively making remarks directly to the Leader of the Opposition. He should really direct them through the President.
Please resume your seat. I've acknowledged the point of order made by Senator Henderson. The minister has withdrawn. That is the end of the matter. Senator McGrath, seriously. Order. Senator Cash and Senator Wong and Senator Ayres, come to order. Senator Cash, this started with an ongoing barrage of interjections by yourself. As I've said before, I do allow leaders in this place some leeway, but in the end I called you to order and you continued the disorder. I said on Monday that name-calling in this place is out of order. And today, in the space of about 2 minutes, there's been a barrage of name-calling. It is unacceptable. We are all adults. I expect respectful behaviour. Minister Watt.
Thanks, President. It's 1 year since we've got the right to disconnect into place. It was going to send us back to the dark ages. It's actually making sure that workers aren't being forced to do unpaid overtime.
The time has expired. Senator Sterle, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. With much glee. Over the past 12 months since the Closing the Loopholes measures came into effect, the Australian labour market has performed strongly Unemployment has remained low and real wages continue to grow while inflation has come right down. How have specific parts of the economy flourished over the past year, and how does this compare to some of the predictions that were made when the legislation was introduced? I look forward to your answer.
Minister Watt.
Thank you, Senator Sterle, and I agree with you. I think it's very important to remind Australians of what the Coalition thought of these laws when they were introduced. As I was saying, when we introduced laws that were about providing the right to disconnect, minimum standards for gig workers and a range of other benefits for workers, Senator Cash said that this legislation would take us back to the dark ages. She said the supermarket shelves would be bare and it would close down parts of the economy. I don't think anyone thinks that any of that is actually right. 12 months on, and despite the negative predictions of Senator Cash, the Closing the Loopholes reforms are delivering great outcomes for Australians. Real wages have now grown for 7 consecutive quarters under the Albanese Labor government. Employment has risen by nearly 880,000 to a record high of 14.6 million workers in July 25. The rate of industrial disputation remains low, down from 128,000 days lost under the Coalition to just under 14,000 in the March quarter of this year. Our reforms have worked.
Thank you, Minister Watt. Senator Sterle, second supplementary.
Thank you. That's great. Thanks, Minister. The Albanese Labor government's workplace relations changes have delivered higher wages and better conditions for workers, as well as growth for small businesses. What else is the government doing to improve the rights of workers to grow their wages and strengthen the economy?
Thank you, Senator Sterle. Minister Watt, I do remind you to answer the question to the chair.
Thanks, President. Well, Senator Sterle, despite the Chicken Little predictions about the economy closing down from Senator Cash and her colleagues, and I heard Senator Cash interjecting about small businesses. Well, I'm very pleased to tell Senator Cash that in the most recent figures there were nearly 2.6 million small businesses in Australia, 2.7% more than the same time in 2023. So wages up, unemployment low, jobs up, small businesses up. Every single thing Senator Cash and her colleagues predicted would go wrong as a result of our laws has been disproven, and in fact Australians are getting higher wages and more jobs as a result of our reforms. But we know the Liberals will always stand in the way of positive changes to Australia's industrial relations laws. What we've also heard recently is from the new person as the Shadow Minister, the member for Goldstein. He has labelled working from home a form of apartheid. That is the current view of the Coalition on workplace relations. Thank you, Minister Watt.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Tyrrell.
Thank you, President. My question—
Senator Tyrrell, please resume your seat. We have moved on, Senator McKenzie. Senator Tyrrell was on her feet asking her question and you continued to interject. If you can't sit quietly, leave the chamber. Senator Tyrrell, order. Senator Tyrrell, please start again.
Thank you, President. My question is for the Minister representing the Minister for Social Services, Senator Farrell. Giving birth to twins in Australia is incorrectly and unfairly classified as a single birth. This misclassification is causing Tasmanian and mainland families to struggle financially, which is why, when I wrote to Minister Rishworth previous Parliament last year, that I was informed that the government would not treat those that have twins as multiple births because they think it's more important to fund those with higher order multiples, which is triplets or more. God help any family. I reached out to the Australian Multiple Birth Association, who told me that those families that have twins face a cost burden of 5 times a single birth. So why does the government continue to exclude families with twins from recognition under the multiple birth allowance and other financial supports?
Thank you, Senator Tyrrell. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President, and thank Senator Tyrrell for her question. I am not the Minister for Social Services, as you would be aware, but I am representing the Minister today. I appreciate your question, the senator has asked a really genuine question about which she is representing her constituencies in Tasmania And I think the minimum, Senator Scarr, you could do is give her the courtesy that.
Minister Farrell, please resume your seat. Senator Tyrrell.
No disrespect, but I thought we should get back to the question, if that's okay. Thank you very much.
Senator Tyrrell. I'll remind the Minister of your question. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President, and thank you for that intervention, Senator Tyrrell. And I was simply, just so you're clear, I was simply defending your right to ask this question on behalf of your constituents. But can I say that you've asked a very valid.
Order. Senator McGrath.
Point of order on relevance. I think we would all agree that the minister, as much as we do like him, has not gone anywhere near the answer to the question that was put by the senator.
Senator McGrath.
Please.
The minister is being relevant. He has acknowledged the question. He's further acknowledged that he is not the directly responsible minister. Thank you. And thank you. Order. Order. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President. And I can see that the opposition are completely opposed to me answering this question in a proper way. But Senator Tyrrell, I will take this issue up with the minister. We've got a very fine minister in this space who's very determined to do the best for the community generally, but in particular Tasmania, and I will come back with a proper response for your question.
Thank you, Minister Farrell. Senator Tyrrell, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. Minister, in September 2023, in answering a Dorothy Dixer question without notice, you said that the Housing and Homelessness Ministerial Council had met, quote, multiple times this year. That council met 2 times in 2023. Does 2 count as multiple, or did you mislead the Senate?
Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Senator Tyrrell. Look, can I say, Senator Tyrrell, I never, ever, ever mislead the Senate. I make a determined effort on every occasion to make sure that I answer every question correctly. If on the odd occasion I do get it wrong, and look, sometimes I do, I have to admit that, I come in and make an admission. But no, look, I would say, just based on the question you've just asked me, that the answer I gave on that occasion is the correct one. There are two is more than one, and it's multiple. And so I think if that's the question you're asking me, then I think my answer is I've answered it correctly.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Tyrrell, second just a moment, Senator Tyrrell. Order on my left. Order. Senator Tyrrell.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Senator Farrell. Instead of basing eligibility on the tortured logic of a definition of multiple that nobody outside of the ministerial wing would recognise, wouldn't it be simpler to listen to the AMBA and base multiple birth support payments on the number of children that are born, and potentially have tiers of support based on how high the number is?
Thank you, Senator Tyrrell. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Senator Tyrrell, for your second supplementary question. Look, I hear what you're saying in that regard. I shall again take it up with the minister directly responsible for this issue, and I will come back with a genuine response to your question.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Bragg.
Thank you very much, President. Yeah, I'm sorry that my questions aren't going to be as funny as Senator Farrell's answers, but we'll make a go of it. So my question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Wong. 4 weeks ago, I asked you how many houses had been completed by the Housing Australia Future Fund. You said at the time that you would find the information out and you would report back to the Senate. Can you please now advise how many houses have been completed?
Thank you, Senator Bragg. Minister Wong.
Thank you, President, and I'm very grateful. Sorry? Well, many houses have been completed. That's a very good answer, Senator Scott. I thank you very much for that. But Senator Bragg, I would go through a few of the figures. As you know, we're getting on with the job of delivering 55,000 social and affordable homes. I am advised that over 28,000 are in planning and construction, 18,000 of those through the HAF and National Housing Accord facility, and 10,000 through other programs. I would make the point, Senator, that you seem very interested in tracking the progress of a fund that you opposed and you were going to scrap.
Minister Wong, please resume your seat. Minister Wong, please resume your seat. Senator Bragg.
I'm sorry to trouble you, but it is a point of order because it's a point of order on relevance. The question was quite clear about it being on the number of houses that have been completed. No, just so in case you didn't hear, it's about the number of houses completed.
I think the minister is being relevant to the question, Senator Bragg. Minister Wong, please continue.
Well, I outlined in my first response the answer that I was giving Senator Bragg. But, Senator, you can't get away from your position to oppose the HAF, to oppose any houses being built by saying, oh, it's not relevant to my question. I think it's pretty relevant to the Australian people, don't you? I reckon the Australian people, those who are concerned about housing affordability, might think that the housing spokesperson's position, which is to oppose any houses being built under the HAF, is relevant to a question on housing. This is your problem, Senator Bragg. Your party opposes governments engaging in the housing sector in order to increase supply. We believe that supply is a part of how we—
Order. Senator, thank you. Senator Bragg.
I'm sorry, but it's a point of order on relevance. We just wanted to know the number of houses completed, please.
That's it.
The minister has started her response and given you a host of numbers, Senator Bragg. So, Minister.
Thank you, President. I would invite the Leader in the Senate perhaps to behave appropriately towards you. Senator, what I would say to you is, as I said, we have 18,000 homes through the HAF and the National Housing Accord facility, over 28,000 social and affordable housing and planning. And if you'd like to ask me which houses you're opposing, I'm very happy to go through a list of
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Bragg, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. So the question is, how many houses have been completed, Minister Wong? That's the question.
That's your supplementary? Yes. No, I'm just checking. It's okay. Minister Wong.
Again, what I would say is 28,000 social and affordable homes are in planning and construction, and the number of houses that we have is way more than would ever have been built under you. We have three at once.
Minister Wong. Order. I'm waiting for silence. Senator Cash.
Thank you. Point of order in relation to direct relevance. I know the minister has probably acknowledged the question, so maybe that falls into direct relevance, but it was pretty clear, a pretty direct question, how many have been completed? And if the minister doesn't know after 4 weeks, she should just say so.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Cash. Order! Order! Order across the chamber. Minister Wong, I will bring you back to the question.
Thank you, President. Well, I will give the opposition a number, and it's 80,000, the number of homes you're opposing with your disallowance.
Order. Senator Bragg, second supplementary.
Well, we'll take it from that you don't know the answer. So there was an answer given.
Just a moment, Senator Bragg. Order. Senator Henderson, which part of order doesn't apply to you? Senator Bragg.
Okay, thank you. So The Housing Minister, Ms O'Neill, has in the recent past said to the ABC that they have had, in fact, completed more than 2,000 homes. So is that number correct? And of those 2,000, how many were built by the HAF and how many were acquired?
Thank you, Senator Bragg. Minister Wong.
Well, Senator, I have in front of me the
Order! Order! Senator Patterson again, which part of order doesn't apply to you? Minister Wong.
I'm sorry, what I was actually going to say, Senator Bragg, the interview to which you were referring. I'm sure that Ms O'Neill was correct. She's a very competent minister and very energetic. And what I would say to you, Senator, is that you can persist in asking questions about a fund you oppose. Yep. So can everyone just understand that you know, the number of homes to be built if Senator Bragg was in Claire O'Neill's job? Zero. That is the number of homes that would be built were you in the housing portfolio. So Senator Bragg, it is disappointing that we see the coalition not having listened to the Australian people and continuing to take a position which is against houses being built. Why is it that your first housing policy of this term is to block 80,000 homes
thank
for
you,
Australians?
Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Payman.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing Minister for Climate Change and Energy, Senator Ayres. In August 2023, the government allocated $3 billion to energy transition projects in WA under the Rewiring the Nation program. It was reported earlier this month by the ABC that this money has sat idle for 2 years, with none of that money being allocated to any projects as of yet. Minister, why has the government allowed 2 years to pass without allocating a single dollar of that $3 billion committed to WA's clean energy transition, despite your stated support for net zero?
Thank you, Senator Payman. Minister Ayres.
Well, you're right to say, Senator Payman, that this government, unlike previous governments, does have a commitment to policy certainty and to working with our partners at the state and territory level and the development community in generation in particular to deliver more generation capacity, including in Western Australia. And that means a commitment to renewable generation capacity, wind developments. I don't want to trigger some of those opposite. Wind developments, solar developments. I know solar developments that I visit regularly. You see these in regional Australia. With you know what you see when you see these projects is giant solar projects providing jobs.
Minister Ayres, please resume your seat. Senator McKenzie, I could hear you over and above the minister. As I said to you earlier today, if you can't sit quietly and not interject, not be disrespectful, please leave the chamber. Senator Payman.
Thank you, President. Just on a point of order, it's been a whole 59 seconds and the minister hasn't mentioned Western Australia. This is really just a genuine question of wanting to know what's happening. So can you please redirect the minister?
Thank you, Senator Payman. The minister is being directly relevant to your question. You started off by indicating the amount of money that the federal government had committed, and the minister is being directly relevant. Minister Ayres.
Well, thank you very much. And as I was outlining, that policy certainty and that ambition is important. And it means development of electricity projects to modernise our electricity system, renewables backed by gas and backed by storage, including in Western Australia. And that is vital for new industry. It is vital for blue-collar jobs, including in Western Australia, where there's shared ambition of the Albanese government and the Cook government to make sure that we're driving production in iron production onshore, critical minerals production onshore, means that people should, when they're opposing these wind projects, count the cost of getting in the way of these projects
in blue-collar jobs, because that's what they are. That's what they are doing. Now, this funding that you've alluded to is, as I understand it, and I'll check the details, allocated and worked through by the Clean Energy Finance Corporation, and they will be evaluating projects and delivering them consistent with their mandate.
Senator Payman, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. Minister, announcing money is not the same as delivering it. The Yindjibarndi Energy Corporation, which has proposed the Chichester Range Corridor project, does not expect to receive Rewiring the Nation funding until late 2027. What is the government doing to alleviate the red tape that is causing such unacceptable delays?
Thank you, Senator Payman. Minister Ayres.
Well, thanks, Senator Payman. The government's broader approach is delivering a modern electricity system. Since May 2022, we've added over 18 gigawatts of renewables, wind and solar, to the grid. That means more jobs. That means more electricity, and we're going to need more electricity for our industrial ambitions and our future Made in Australia ambitions, and for the data centres of the future in Western Australia and everywhere else. And that is why we are focused on development and progress, not going backwards. And that's why under the last government you had 4 gigawatts going out of the system and only 1 gigawatt going in, leaving a legacy of despair for industrial projects around the country. Now, we did take a look at these issues last week, of course, and on the focus on how it is that we work across government to deliver faster approval times, more progress,
Thank you, Minister. The time for
and bigger
answering
projects for the state.
Senator Payman, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. I love how the minister used the last 6 seconds to allude to the question and try to answer it. But according to the ABC, $3.54 billion has already been allocated to projects in New South Wales and Victoria. Why is WA being left behind, losing out on opportunities of creation of jobs and certainty and training, while the eastern states power ahead?
Thank you, Senator Payman. Minister Ayres.
Well, the way that you characterise that, Senator Payman, is completely at odds with the record of investment, and also have to say with the attitude of the Western Australian government to these questions. They have ambition for Western Australia. They are focused on industrial development and on the development of the electricity system that will be required to facilitate that development. That means more jobs in the outer suburbs, more jobs in regional Western Australia, and we will not lose sight of any part of Australia, particularly the industrial regions of Australia that need this development. And what we won't be doing is being out there like the team over here, opposing wind projects and solar projects and transmission projects that are required to deliver for blue-collar jobs. They hate blue-collar jobs over here. We're determined to back them.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Grogan.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister for Early Childhood Education, Senator Walsh. Parents know that the early childhood education and care workforce is the backbone of the sector. And today's parliamentary event celebrating Early Learning Matters Week reminds us all just how vital that workforce is. Not only for children's development and their well-being, but also for families being able to work and being able to contribute to the economy more broadly. What is the Albanese Labor government doing to back our early childhood education and care workforce and ensure that their essential work is properly recognised?
Thank you, Senator Grogan. Minister Walsh.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Senator Grogan, for your support for early childhood education and educators. Early childhood educators work hard every day to give children a great start in life, but their work has been overlooked and undervalued for too long. When we first came to government, educators couldn't afford to stay in the jobs they loved because their pay didn't reflect the value of their contribution. And love just doesn't pay the rent. We had workers leaving in droves. That's why the Albanese government is investing $3.6 billion to deliver a historic 15% pay rise for the early childhood workforce. and this means that educators can afford to stay in the jobs they love. A typical full-time educator has received a pay rise of at least $103 per week from December last year, and in just over 3 months' time that will increase to at least $155 per week. On this side of the chamber, we see our early childhood educators. We value them, we respect their contribution, and we don't just talk about it, we act on it. This 15% pay rise is paying dividends. Educators are staying in their roles for longer, with vacancy rates down by almost a quarter. And when educators stay, the whole system is stronger. These are good jobs, meaningful jobs, important jobs, where trained educators shape children's futures and support families. For too long, that work was taken for granted. Under the Albanese government, educators are recognised and are rewarded.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Grogan.
Thank you. That's great to hear how well that's going. Another key part of the Albanese Labor government's reforms has been the worker retention payment, which I believe has helped keep experienced educators in the sector while attracting new staff. Could the minister outline how this measure is also benefiting children by ensuring they are educated and cared for by a stable, secure and respected workforce?
Thank you, Senator Grogan. Minister Walsh.
Thank you, President. Well, yes, I can. We know that the early years matter. 90% of brain development occurs in the first 5 years of a child's life, and quality early education helps prepare children to thrive in school and to thrive in life. It's even more important for children from disadvantaged backgrounds. And the foundation of quality in early learning is a stable and respected workforce. We want educators to build lasting bonds with each child, to understand their unique traits and characteristics and tailor their education and care accordingly. So this historic 15% pay rise for the early childhood workforce is good for families too. And on top of that, services that signed up for the worker retention payment must cap fees. This is saving families money while valuing educators. And that is how you deliver quality early learning.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Grogan, second supplementary.
Excellent. Now, we know that the gender pay gap has closed to record low levels. How does valuing our early childhood educators contribute to gender equality, and how is supporting educators good for our productivity, the economy and our country more broadly?
Thank you, Senator Grogan. Minister Walsh.
Thank you, President. Well, the Albanese government is building universal early education, pillar by pillar, and this means delivering early learning for every child, no matter their postcode or what their parents do. Quality and affordable early childhood education supports parents, particularly women, to return to work when they're ready. In contrast, we know how those opposite feel about early education. When we delivered our historic 15% pay rise, they dismissed it as, and I quote, a sugar hit. On this side of the chamber, we know that supporting educators is good for the country. It's good for gender equality, and that is good for the country too. And that's why this 15% pay rise is paying dividends for early childhood educators, for children and their families, and for Australia.
Thank you, Minister. Senator McGrath.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Wong. Minister, yesterday when asked about the Prime Minister's decision to adopt taxing Australian families who have a spare bedroom in their house, you could not even say no or even mention the tax in your response. Can the Minister finally give Australians the clarity they deserve and rule out this tax?
Thank you, Senator McGrath. Minister Wong.
Senator,
what else do you want us to rule out?
Order.
Undies tax.
Order. Senator Ayres. Order. Order across the chamber. Order. Minister.
President, thank you. And I thank Senator McGrath for the question, although I don't believe his primary question is an accurate reflection of what Thank you for your assistance, Senator Cash. I don't believe it's an accurate reflection of what I said. I'm always happy to discuss with him whether or not my memory is correct, and I refer you to my previous answer. I would say to you, Senator, I know that those opposite are uncomfortable with the fact that the party that went to the election with higher taxes is you.
Yeah.
And I know Senator McGrath and others on the front in the coalition are on the record as wanting smaller government, and it must be very hard for them to deal with the fact that the party who went to the last election with higher taxes for every taxpayer is the coalition. Now, what the Prime Minister has said is that we will be implementing the tax policy we took to the last election towards making the tax system more efficient and fairer. We're going to be implementing our policy to give every Australian taxpayer a tax cut. We cut taxes for every Australian on the 1st of July 2024, and we will do it again from the 1st of July 2026 and again on the 1st of July 2027. I think it has been very clear that there is one party which has been focused on making our tax system fairer, and that is the Australian Labor Party.
Thank you, Minister. Senator McGrath, first supplementary.
I note the minister failed to rule out the spare bedroom tax. Minister, can you guarantee that every family forced to move under the Prime Minister's spare bedroom tax will be offered a suitable, safe and nearby alternative?
Thank you, Senator McGrath. Minister Wong.
Senator,
order.
This is the problem, isn't it, President, if I may say, when you have no tax policy of your own, that your only refuge in politics is to create a bunch of spare campaigns. And we know Senator McGrath is returning to that habit, which is in the absence of policy, in the absence of an alternative for the Australian people. Why don't we just create a bunch of scare campaigns and try to whip up fear around them? Well, we're not going to be deterred by that. Now, we will continue to implement our tax policies, and they include a tax cut for every Australian.
Thank you, Minister. Senator McGrath, second supplementary.
So, still no ruling out of the spare bedroom tax. Does Labor still stand by its claims to support housing as a human right, or has the spare bedroom tax revealed it's more concerned about taxing hard-working Australians than protecting vulnerable families? Isn't this just mean?
Thank you, Senator McGrath. Minister Wong.
Now we know what you said to him. Now we know.
Order.
That's leadership.
Order.
That's leadership. Wow.
Order across the chamber.
That's your influence on
Senator
coalition.
Watt, which part of order did you not understand?
Senator, I remind you that you are part of a party that opposes more houses. I would remind you that you are a part of a party that sought to tax Australians more. So I think everyone will listen to that question and understand precisely what Senator McGrath is seeking to do. And on that note, President, I ask that further questions be placed on notice.